Hello, everybody, and welcome to Six Plus Plus. I am Ben of the eponymous, wrong hand, eponymous Ben's Wager. Um, Today, I'm here to do another event report. Once again, I have attended an RTT. Um, Today, obviously, the title, we are going to have a little bit more of an in-depth discussion on how the Drukhari play into Legion of Excess. I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on it now, as we'll go into later with one of my matchups in a later round. So this RTT is my local, so it is in Colville. Um, it's my local gaming club, of which I'm a gaming ambassador, the tabletop ambassador there. So I sort of help arrange community events and get people involved in the community around there. Um, so it's sponsored by an antique store down the road, which is actually a local stockist of Warhammer. He's one of the biggest stockists in Leicestershire. So let's get into it. So, yep, as we can see, it's sponsored by Elite Gaming Lounge and sponsored by Cats Antiques. Both are based in Colville, both sort of nice local community run things. So, Cats provides all of the prize money, and Elite Gaming Lounge provides the tables and the space to play there. So, up for grabs, we had £100 for first prize, £50 for second, and 25 for third place. Obviously, we had awards for best painted and most sporting and wooden spoon as well. Um, so yes, that's them. I just want to give a good shout out to Cats, Mark at Cats Antiques, who does a great job of supporting the community, bringing us all together and keeping us all stocked with our wonderful plastic addictions. Thank you very much, Mark, you legend. Okay, so going into the army, as you can probably see in the background there, I've been taking some pictures tonight of the army. So let's get into the list. So it's slightly changed since the last one. I couldn't. So obviously there was a discussion about whether the racks get dropped or I lose the enhancement. I decided I didn't want to lose either of those things. I quite liked. I felt like those two were quite staple to the list. They're sort of quite key to how the list functions. So what I ended up doing was dropping all of the Talos and getting in a big 15-man court. So we have two Archons, two Courts of the Archons, 20 Cabalites. One Archon has Arch Raider, which means he'll then split the court with the Venom, and then all the special guns in the court will jump in the Raider. The other Archon has Webway Walker, so he has Deep Strike, and gets reroll charges when they are losing the wager, which can be quite spicy, only in the turn in which they arrive there. So it might take some careful planning on our part for that. So we have also two units of Mandrakes, fairly standard fodder for the list. A unit of 5 racks. We have 6 Grotesques, the Void Raven Bomber, 2 Void Weavers, Beastmaster, and 2 Haywire Scourge. Now, the Void Weavers, let's address the elephant in the room, are expensive, okay? They're 18-inch low op. Is okay. It's quite a nice little rule on a small chassis like that. But the guns going 24 inches did hurt them a little bit. However, in the list, it fills a nice shooting platform role where it's not particularly great at anti-tank and it's not particularly great at chaff clearing, but it does provide you a fairly reliable shooting platform to go out and kill things you don't necessarily want to expose more important things to go and shoot, such as your courts, or the plane. So it allows you to play a bit more safely with some of those other units. So what I've often found I've been doing now is sort of scouting the raider to my natural expansion with the courts in, getting them out, tagging them up into the wall, and being like, right, you can't charge me there because I'm fights first, and I'll probably kill you because that's what courts do, because courts are great. So it just allows the Void Weavers to whiz around and shoot some targets off the table. And they can punch up, and they can they most certainly can do some good damage. So let's get on to my first round then. So we were playing Terraform on UKTC with Swift Action on Sweeping Engagement. So I was playing Matt and his Retaliation cadre Tau, which as per my stats, it tends to be a pretty bad matchup for the Tau. At least I think so. I just do not respect Tau at all. Um, so he went first. He came out. He tried to terraform many things. Had loads of battle line on, and what happened is I cleared all those objectives, killed basically all of his chaff, and left him with a couple of suits left. Um, Turn two, I pretty much cleared up all the suits. Turn three, I finished off what was left. He did leave Farsight's suit unit in Deep Strike. He was going to rapid ingress that in my turn three, but I screened the board, uh, which wasn't ideal. So sort of here's a picture of that game. Um, as you can see, he's not got very much left. He's got some stealth suits, a lone Tau commander. I have my court deep struck onto his home objective, and some broadsides and stealth suits on the right hand side. This turn, I finished all those off, and yeah, screened out Farsight from being able to come in at all. So it was pretty tough for a few in that aspect. It felt a bit mean. Turn one, round one, it was a bit nasty. But me and Matt have played this game before, and yeah, it's just not a good Tau matchup, unfortunately. Haywire does a lot of work here, and yeah, they can't really deal with the fast combat that we've got going on there. So yeah, so that was game one. Nice big win, 100-31. Yep, 100-31. So on to round two. It was written, it was fated. I got to play Ash and his Legions of Excess once again. So we were playing on Search and Destroy, Hidden Supplies, Taken Hold. Now, this mission against Legions of Excess, we are close. If he goes first, he does what I did to him. Now, I deployed in a fairly defensive manner where I could sort of scout out of the way or scout to move block a lot of what he wanted to do. Um, sort of hid a lot of my important assets on my far left side. But I had my sort of my raid and my beast pack, and I had my grotesques ready to sort of pounce if I did draw first turn. Now I did roll to go first, so what happened here? I went for it essentially. So I scouted the raider forward, chucked the court out, got them as far forward as I could. Did a bit of shooting, some charging, cleared off his seekers that were blocking the way. Rolled quite a big advance on my grotesque, so I think I rolled the 6, and they were sat sort of just behind my home set of 2 little L's. So they sort of went out, and we basically just put him in jail for a turn, which helped me get massive control on the primary. So I then had 2 sticky objectives, plus was holding a third, and ready to pounce on the other 2 should I need to. I didn't actually kill a lot this turn, surprisingly. My 2 Void Weavers did some shooting, did a little bit of shooting, and killed off a couple of Seekers each, which didn't quite clear the screen. So let me then go and punch some Fiends or some Demonettes or whatever else I wanted to with the other stuff. I did spend the CP on the Grotesque to get advanced shoot and charge in case my shooting did slightly better, and I cleared a whole unit of Seekers, so I could actually pounce in there and be quite happy about that. It didn't, so it was a wasted CP, and perhaps in hindsight, probably wasn't needed. I think just the fact that they were sat where they were sat was more than enough defensively. I did get the charge in though with both the Beast Pack and the Court, with Vect now in his deployment zone, meaning he couldn't heroically intervene with anybody. Where my Archon managed to land, it did sort of hit Shalaxi and the Keeper, and the Fight First Mask. It did sort of stop all of those being able to heroic, which was really important that early on. His clapback, he cleared it all out, not a problem. Then I ingressed in my second court and then managed to bang some charges, get some good shooting off, kill Shalaxi off with Grotesques, because Grotesques are heroes. Well, between Grotesques and a lot of other shooting, so I got both Voids, both Scourge units. I think I got the plane in as well. Then with the Grotesque going in with lethal hits, managed to finish her off quite happily, and I've got a massive hold on the primary at this point in time. As you can probably see by his primary scores, he's got a 10 or 5. Obviously, eventually my attrition does run out, but I think I've done enough at this point to keep it in the game for me. So again, he clears off another court. Um, some more clapbacks, and at this point, I'm like, right, I just need to. I know I'm going to get sort of another 5-10 primary. There was a lovely little bait down on my natural expansion objective where I had a unit of Cabalites near my Venom that the keeper was trying to contest. So the keeper walked around the building to try and charge the Cabalites. I spent my 2 CP reactive move, jump back in my Venom. Keeper then does charge my Venom, kills it, and I managed to pop out on the other side of the wall onto the objective. I lose 1 in the process, but then in my command phase, I managed to sticky that and hold on to that, so I get another 10 primary points. So it does tie us on primary in the end. My secondaries were just better. Having Mandrakes up, down in made a huge difference there. And we had quite a nice bait play with Mark for Death in his round 4, where there was a unit of Mandrakes sort of just off his home objective, which caused his last unit of Fiends and the Mass to go back and charge them because they were doable, they were killable, and it was 5 points on the board for him. So he went for it. Again, he went for it, got them, banged both charges into them. But at that point, what happened is it took them out of the primary game, leaving him just 2 keepers to get primary in no man's land. The plane comes in, clears up the Fiends, and he's just got the Mask. The Mask, obviously being slower than the Fiends, was sort of my target priority there because I knew the Mask, even with a big advance, couldn't make it to another objective. She could attempt to charge into my Cabalites, but I did have the 2 CP, so she would have to be a 9-inch charge rerollable, and that is it. Which in the end did help me win the game because he couldn't get the second point of secure no man's land and couldn't get another 5 points on primary. I think even then, I think he wins by a point if he manages to get that. But I feel quite confident into the Legion of Excess matchup. Now with Drukhari, what I suggest we do: ignore the keepers as long as we can. We have to kill everything that's not a keeper because suddenly when keepers are having to do actions or set and hold primary is when you can just take that game. So if you can kill these Fiends, the Demonettes, the Seekers, kill all of those super quickly, ignore his same objective, don't worry about that. He's probably going to have some Plague Bearers or something sitting there, not a problem. Then, we're looking at a strong position. Vect can be really crucial, especially if they have an Epitome and they try and pass wounds off to their sort of 4 feel no pain against mortals. Having that Vect there to shut those stratagems down can be so crucial. Um, you know, Otherwise we're going to really struggle to kill the chaff because killing the chaff is what wins you this game. If you do have to go after a keeper, try and go for Shalaxi. Shalaxi, in theory, is easier to kill. She doesn't have the minuses to hit. Okay, all the minuses to wound. Whereas the keepers can be a little bit more tricky with the minuses to hit. It's appreciable that obviously Shalaxi in combat does reduce the amount of tax you have by 1, but when you're shooting, it can be so much more reliable. And again, having Vec there to shut off the "you can't shoot me" or the -1 to hit off that as well can be just amazing for that. So honestly, that is the play. And then once you know you've sort of run out of enough stuff to keep them in a place, make sure you're pulling back. Make sure you just measure those threat ranges from the keepers, particularly. It's very orchestrated where they can go. They can walk through walls in their movement phase. What they can't do is walk through models. They move 14, okay? So their maximum threat range is 26 inches. Would you say, Ben, that's absolutely huge? Sure. But if they're just having to sit and hold an objective and not being able to deal with you, cracking. Use your speed to whip around away from them whilst killing all of their important stuff that's scoring them points. So that is sort of my hot tips with the Slaanesh matchup. But I just team in another win. Looking in good place going into the final. It was me and Tom. Tom is a World Eaters player playing Vessels of Wrath. Now, World Eaters, I feel fairly confident with this matchup. But I didn't know what Vessels of Wrath did because I've not played it before. And if I'm being honest, I'm still not quite 100% sure. What it basically does, it gives you another a blood blessing to give to 3 other units. So you can pick your 2 from the dice, and then you could pick a third one that you want. So you could have +2 move, advance and charge, and the feel no pain, or sustained hits, or any of these things. There's some good stratagems in there. We've got a blood surge on any unit basically, which is wonderful. He had an enhancement on his demon prince to let it walk through walls, which is spicy. That demon prince, in theory, it lets the demon prince do work, but the demon prince met its untimely end at the end of a void weaver, unfortunately. um, it was a great game, simple game. Inspired leadership, scorched earth on Crucible of Battle. I locked down with some fight first units, with my fight on death units. When Angron came, I managed to kill him. And then he just had pretty much his 2 units of 8 bound rocking round, which I eventually chewed through, but they were pretty tough to get through. His berserkers, they met their untimely end because of the Void Raven bomber. Picked up 15 plus Zerkers, I think, plus um, spawn as well. I want to say it was the spawn or some other stuff, maybe some jackals. I can't quite fully remember. But I did go first in this, so again, I sort of had to dictate the plays quite early there, and try and mess with some primary, keep his primary down, because end game scoring, he's going to do a lot. So at the sort of end of the game, as I say, he managed to make it into my home objective, burn my home objective, which brought him back up to level on primary. But thankfully, I had just outscored on secondaries, because he didn't have a lot of stuff left to sit in his deployment zone, and so most of it wanted to go forward and start clearing me off. Lord Invocatus was a real problem. I made a slight mistake. I forgot about the Blood Surge stratagem. Shot it in with 1 unit of Mandrakes, and he Blood Surged into my unit of Scourge, which meant they didn't get to shoot. Then he got to cause a little bit of havoc because I didn't quite have enough to then turn around when I've got Angron sat in front of me as well. I was intending to kill him that turn. It just didn't go quite as I planned, unfortunately. So I did lose a couple of units there that I didn't need to lose. I shouldn't have lost. I should have thought about the Blood Surge and played around that a little bit. But we learn. we learn from that one. But it did see me another RTT undefeated with Reaper's Wager, which was great, absolutely great. So here we are. I did finish second. I finished 1 point behind Mark Pilkington, who was on the new Eldar Menace in Aspect Host, with all of the Fire Dragons and Dark Reapers and all of the good stuff in there. So I finished second with Drukhari. Then we had Tom May with his World Eaters, who I played in the final. So it was nice to see that, even though we both played in the final, he still managed to make it to third place. Then we have my ex-teammate Alex Fowler, now of Mind Goblins, on some Space Marines. He was on Stormlance Space Marines with a Storm Raven, which was super interesting list. It was Ultramarine, so Gilliman, and all the good stuff like that. And then we had his best mate, who is still my teammate, Alex Beresford, on his Renegade Raiders Chaos Space Marines. It was Abaddon and the Indirect guys, basically, with some Vindicators and Rhinos and all Renegade Raiders, good stuff. So yes, we managed to get second place, which was great, and it does put me top of the UKTC rankings, and I am climbing the ITC rankings now. Coming up next, obviously, we have the 6 vs GT, so we'll see what we take for that. I think the list probably doesn't change, to be perfectly honest. Data slate depending, because that is coming soon. Maybe I'll be able to change it before the GT. We shall see. But currently, I'm pretty happy with how it works. I've got all of the tools I need in there. I think it does a great job. The only thing I do worry about is the guard matchup. I don't know. I don't know how we play that bridgehead matchup. It's awful. We haven't got enough units to screen it. Everything we have is important, and it dies too quickly. And those Scion units can quite happily pick up 3 a turn. Plus, then you've got 9 mortars or 6 mortars and a field ordnance battery to compete with as well. And it's impossible. I've got the plane in there to go and deal with the indirect, assuming they leave me a gap for the plane to land, which good players won't. But it's rough. It's pretty rough. But so we had my teammate Matt, who won Best Painted with his Tzeentch Demons army, fully converted. Looked great. I should say Best army. Um, it looked fantastic. He's put a lot of work into that, and managed to get it all painted. I think he's looking to get a Lord of Change on the go. But otherwise, or no, sorry, Kairos Fate Weaver on the go. I think he's just waiting to find some wings that are appropriate for that one. But it looks fantastic. And then we had Ashley Farn, ever the gent, winning Motorsporting. Ashley's great. If you ever meet him, you will understand. Like he's such a funny guy, so nice, so down to earth. Like just one of the greatest guys. Um, and then we have the finalists. So we've got Tom on the left, me on the right, and then Mark in the middle with his big winners trophy. And then we have Mark in all three of those pictures. Mark from Cats Antiques, sort of presenting the prizes here at the lounge. So yeah, that is that. So yeah, great event. Another good finish. And hopefully we've got some good tips there on how to deal with Slaanesh, Legions of Excess. Um, Hopefully they stick around a bit longer and they don't get too badly hurt come the data slate, because the data slate, that I think is really cool. I think it's a really cool, really interesting detachment. I think it just needs toning down ever so slightly to make life easier. I think something like making the damage that they pass off not mortal wounds, so they can't save it on the epitome, might make life a bit easier for a lot of people. Um, but otherwise, maybe some points. But beyond that, I hope they don't get touched all that much. But yeah, so as I say, I've got 6 plus plus GT coming up. It's my first GT in quite a few months now. I feel like I've got some good practice going into it, coming off the back of 3 undefeated RTTs. Now, I know Tom will say, but Ben, they're only RTTs. Shut up, Tom. Um, but I feel ready. I feel confident, and hopefully we can have a good run. I'd like a 4-1, but we'll see. We shall see. It's going to be fun, no matter what. Though, up in Prestige Wargaming in Barnsley, not Preston. Keep saying Preston. Wrong northern town. Hmm. But yes, that's it for this one. I will be back once again after the 6 plus plus GT, and we'll see how we do. Hopefully a good run in the cards. Um, Either that, or I'm going to be sitting here crying how it was awful. Um, there she is. There's the bomber, the MVP of the game. MVP. Um, so good, so good. Please don't nerf them again, GW. Anyway, thanks for listening. Obviously, any comments, any questions, pop them down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and just let me know you're enjoying the content. And we will catch you on the next one. Bye bye.